oilprice.com and looking at the average oil price fall and rise around the world to look at the average trends and see what's really happening with the prices despite what either side of the current conflict around the Strait of Hormuz says. Remember, I've been telling you guys for weeks now that maybe, just maybe, even though Trump is saying he wants the Strait of Hormuz open, maybe he really doesn't. And it just makes me wonder about the legitimacy of the reasons for re-engaging in the conflict, almost as if they are letting the attacks happen. I think they're also trying to shape the narrative so that people are in support of the war, as the American people have been overwhelmingly not in support of the war, to get people riled up about the deaths of U.S. soldiers, which I'm from Arizona, and I'm driving right now. I'm driving from Arizona. I'm headed out east, and I just saw my family. We had a big 4th of July, big Memorial Day before that. Being a veteran and serving your country is something that I honor and care about. And I respect the military very much. But none of that means anything if the citizens don't have rights. None of that means anything if when you're done serving your military, you clock out and again, you have no rights, you have no freedom of speech, you have no way to take care of yourself. So I'm not saying that we should be there or we shouldn't be there, one reason or another, okay? I'm talking to you about what the American people believe, what polls have been saying. I'm sure there are people that come to class that have one political belief or another, and that doesn't matter. That's so petty. We are a human race, and I believe we're all trying to drive in a direction that is better for human beings. And that's what I was getting at yesterday. I was talking about taking care of your tribe and the direction that technology is going. You cannot expect them, the big they, whoever you consider the big they, whoever you disagree with and you want to fight against their ideas. I gave a funny example in class and said, Bill Gates, Bill Gates has done some good things, Bill Gates has done some bad things. I personally don't necessarily like the direction that he's going in right now, but at the same time, I can admire what he has accomplished as a businessman through Microsoft and take a look at his legacy and understand that Bill Gates was a multi-millionaire. Multi-millionaire could have just, in the late 80s, early 90s, could have just retired and no one would have ever heard from him again, could have disappeared off-grid. But instead, he worked 10 hours a day, self-directed in his office. He had passion and projects that he pushed for years and years and years. I don't think he can not work. So if I disagree with what he's doing, then I need to work just as hard or harder. So think about that for yourself. I don't care where you stand politically or what your beliefs are. I care that you prosper. That's what I think about when I think about someone watching what's going on in any class that I'm a part of, right? And of course, I don't give financial advice, and I'm not a financial advisor. I just talk with you guys like friends, and that's how I feel. I care about you. I want you to prosper, and I want you to grow. And I think, whether you and I may or may not agree on something, the only way for you to learn and grow and become something is to prosper and continue forward. Being in survival mode all the time, it's very hard to learn. It's very hard to grow. So hopefully by attending the classes in Quantum Wealth, you are elevating yourself to a place where you can have more financial freedom, financial security, and knowledge. You feel more secure in moving through the financial environment and understanding what people are trying to sell you and how you should allocate your resources. I think Keith is very good at explaining that, and so are most of his colleagues. whether you believe that things are going in a negative direction or things are going in a positive direction, what I spoke about yesterday in the first special edition video still matters, okay? It still counts and is the best course of action. That is, get your node of people around you that you can count on. Start building a tribe. Start building a specialization. Use these technologies as best you can that we've talked about in class. All these new technologies that the governments are adopting as best you can, while balancing it with old school methods. Having real physical goods on hand. Having real physical metals on hand. Learning a new skill. Learning how to make something. Or, like I said, tend to animals. It doesn't matter if you think things are going up or going down. These skills matter, and they're going to matter more in the future. If the UN is serious about 15-minute cities, which they've been talking about for a while, and our world has been going more and more that direction, being able to make goods or make food for yourself is going to be important, no matter what you think is going on. And it's just enriching for your character. I believe, like I've said, if man can make it, man can break it. And the only way that Houdini learned to break out of a pair of handcuffs is by experimenting with them. He got a pair of handcuffs and he learned everything about them. He got a straitjacket and he tied himself up in it 100 times before he broke out and he solved the problem. You have to practice. You have to apply your skills. If that's in trading, if that's in research, if that's in writing, if that's in farming, if that's in managing your finances, if that's in working on relationships. It applies across all fields. If you see what's going on right now, and I've said I sneaky believe that the United States military and the president does not actually want the strait open, because the longer the strait is closed or restricted, the easier it becomes for the United States to make deals with other countries for energy and liquid natural gas. And the longer the strait is restricted and controlled by the United States military, well, that hurts Iran, that hurts Russia, that hurts China, that hurts North Korea. And if you haven't noticed, as I've also stated in class before, we are in Cold War II. Okay, that's what I'm calling it. I don't care. That's where we're at. We are in Cold War II, and we have been for a while. I'm going to say the history books might mark it as opening sometime before, but I'll say when COVID dropped, that's the beginning of Cold War II, and the curtain's starting to drop around the world. Maybe you could call that the first shot fired, or the first mistake happened. The supply chains falling apart, the decoupling and reshuffling of supply chains, this global power shift that the United States is moving on, the global financial system shift that everyone is waiting for Kevin Warsh to take the reins of and perform magic with. They're all coming to a head right now. They all depend on the next few days. You know, when I was a kid, stocks and markets seemed boring. But right now is the least boring time I've ever had looking at the markets, looking at the world. And that's because every day you don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, my crypto portfolio is doing great. I hope your guys' is too. They're adopting, like I said, a lot of coins into the infrastructure right now, behind the scenes. You need to check it out. For loans and liquidity, private and public liquidity, government sanctioned. The stuff that they're doing thing with stable coins is they're not going to let them go, right? The big money has already seen it. They're hungry for it. And that's why I say the data centers aren't going away. The robotics aren't going away. The AI isn't going away. We just need to find a way to live with that. And in some cases, live in resistance to the ways that it's going to harm our lives. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I, as a completely not a financial advisor, and definitely not someone who pretends to know your life, what you should do with it, or someone who could tell you what to believe or think, no. All I can do is say, brother, sister, as a fellow human, someone who is trying to be aware of the world and the finance around us, well, start building your network of self-sufficiency. Start thinking about the future more. Think less about that parlay on the betting app. Think less about going to Wendy's for a spicy McChicken. Think more about opening another savings account, learning about a Roth IRA, learning how to set up a trust, learning how to transfer assets into that trust, learning about money market accounts, learning about mutual funds, making it a goal to invest in one mutual fund before the end of the year. These are examples of things that you can do that are small steps in a positive direction. And in a world that feels oppressive, suffocating, or in some cases, like everyone talks about how they can't get ahead, that it's one step forward, two steps back. Well, I disagree. I think you have a lot more time than just one step before you have to take a couple back. And I think it's about getting up and being consistent every single day, okay? That counts for an investment plan. So, every day that I work, every single day that I work and make money, I spend $20 of that money to invest in something of my choice. This is a rule that I made for myself. Because later, if it's sitting in my account, unsaved, unspent, uninvested, I'm going to use it on something stupid. And 2 days later, I'm going to think, damn, I should have just spent that $20 buying a little bit more Bitcoin right now. Since the entire world is clamoring for it and hoarding it, and the entire world is starting to shift over to a digital standard, maybe instead of buying $20 worth of Taco Bell when I'm hungry and enjoying myself late in the evening on a weekend, I'm going to spend that $20 on Bitcoin. I'm going to drink some water and make a PB&J. In the moment, that choice seems very insignificant. And in fact, it's inconvenient because, dang, that Taco Bell sure sounded delicious. But in 5 years, when the value of your investment in Bitcoin or your investment in InterX stock here on Robinhood or E-Trade or any other crypto, you could just be buying physical gold, you could be investing in a gold and silver ETF, mutual funds, all of the above, $20 into it. Instead of indulging in your vice, if that's candy, if that's tobacco, being consistent with these small choices that feel inconvenient in the moment, even feel sort of physically painful in the moment. That's the only way to create real momentum in an investment account, in a savings account, in a strategy for long-term stability. You see, have been very, very poor in my life. Okay, so listen up, all right? Poor people stay poor because everything is so miserable that when they get their paycheck, or when they get that moment, that brief extra little bit of money to breathe, they want to spend it on treating themselves, and they want to spend it on relieving the pressure from all the stress and all the weight of constantly being behind on bills, stealing from Peter to pay Paul, using daily pay in their account, calling a friend, calling a sister, hustling up money whenever they can, selling stuff. You know, if you've been poor, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're always on the edge of, am I going to lose the house? Am I going to lose the car? Okay? And when you're in that stress mode all the time, when you get that little bit of extra breathing room, you immediately want to spend it on something that's going to make you feel good. And in some cases, that's great for your mental health, okay? But it's very, very easy to fall into that pattern of, this is how I make it through, right? And then now you have no savings. Or now you've been thinking about investing in crypto, or you've been thinking about buying some gold, but you never have, 8 months after you thought about it. So you have to find a way to balance that. You have to find a way to balance your mental health, even if you're poor, or find that one thing to get ahead, that one deal, that one flip on Facebook Marketplace that made you a little bit extra until you can get up, until you're not struggling anymore. It's very, very, very difficult, and that's why poor people stay poor. And I've been there, and I've done that. I have spent way, way, way too much of my paycheck on candy and soda at the corner store. All right, guilty as charged. If you've done that with a paycheck, let me know. Okay, stupid. Especially at the corner store, it's so expensive. But the systems around us are designed to extract wealth from us at all times. And if you're trying to build wealth and you're falling into the traps of wealth extraction, you never will. Okay? If you're trying to build wealth and you are not listening to Keith and not using the No Dice app, you might end up spending half of your paycheck on bets that failed on a betting app. But I would recommend, checking out the No Dice app and listening to Keith on that. If you've been there, I understand, okay? We're humans, like I said, we're all friends here. And I am not a financial advisor. I am not a priest. I am not a moral arbiter. I'm a human just like you. I'm your homie. And we're just here talking about things going on in the world. There is no telling how things are going to change moving into the next decade or the next 20 years. And I hope that everyone understands that. We looked at how trade routes are changing. We looked at how birth rate demographics are changing. I did an entire presentation on why Africa is the future of the world because they are having the most babies. Among many other reasons, many other factors. So instead of being another doomer headline or another reason why someone wants to give up today, make sure you're positive. You start finding your people. You start taking control of what you can, which is you. Your investments, your choices. Small ones every day. Consistent small choices, and suddenly you have an investment account. I tried to show you guys on the charts. I tried to put you on to some stocks and stuff a couple months ago before the market really started to take off. And a lot of those stocks have gone up. And I'm not saying I'm 100% accurate because I'm not. I'm looking at like maybe a 55% win rate right now, but not bad. And I hope y'all are doing well yourself. And just remember, even if you only have money for one share, you get on Robinhood, you get on E-Trade, whatever, and you want to practice, buy it. You know, Robin in class, I always use this as an example. She told me she bought one share of uranium stock, and she's just watching it. But the thing is, that one share of uranium stock is not being spent on candy. It's not being spent on alcohol. It's not being spent on any other vice. It's not being spent on makeup. It's not being spent on impulse. It's sitting in an account where it has a chance to accrue a very, very large increase in value. And yes, of course, there's always a chance to lose. But that's why you need to consult your financial advisor, use dollar cost averaging, and do your own research before you make any purchases. I love y'all, and Special Edition will continue this week as I'm driving across the country. I hope to be able to sit down at my computer here and do a video where I'm actually looking at some charts in the markets. I need to go over will Bitcoin go to 30, and we were looking at XRP and some other stuff, so we'll get there. Thank you so much, and keep your eyes peeled.